What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. So the longest awaited rework for quite a long time has finally hit the PBE, and YORICK Mori, the Gravedigger of League of Legends, has been neglected for just so many years because, well, people honestly kind of just weren't playing him. You know, it's not like he didn't have any positives to his kit in the first place, but he wasn't entirely all that enticing to play, and he ended up just falling out of favor with the community, and Riot kinda just left him to starve in the dust. And people have been begging for a YORICK rework or YORICK update for years and years now, and now we finally get to see what Riot have in store with him. So let's dive into his kit and playstyle and take a look to try and figure out just how good is the new YORICK rework. So as usual, we're going to start off by taking a look at his brand new kit, and then we'll get into some more details into his playstyle, his strengths, weaknesses, and just how he plays out and all that stuff. So his kit pretty much is completely different to the old outdated version. You know, the only thing that really stayed the same is that he's a melee character, but with AI companions kind of. So his new passive is called Shepherd of Souls, and it's all about this new version of ghouls, the Mistwalkers. So YORICK can have 4 Mistwalkers serving him, and they decay and disappear if they move too far away from YORICK or his ultimate. And these Mistwalkers are spawned at graves by his other abilities, and the graves form randomly at dead minions or neutral monsters' corpses, or at the location of an enemy champion that died near YORICK. So how does YORICK turn his graves into loyal minions? Well, with his Q, Last Rites, and Awakening. So it's a 2-part ability, and the Last Rites part of the ability is an auto attack enhancer that deals bonus damage and restores some health to YORICK, which gives him some really awesome sustain actually. And if he kills an enemy with Last Rites, it always spawns a grave. And if there's 3 graves near YORICK and Last Rites is on cooldown, YORICK's Q becomes Awakening, which he can cast to spawn his Mistwalkers from all of his nearby graves. And the Mistwalkers will then shove down the lane and attack the nearest target, but you can also mark a target with your E to make them dive onto an enemy champion as well, which is pretty handy to force them onto a certain target to just be a little bit more useful. YORICK's new W is Dark Procession, and it's actually a little bit similar to Veigar's Event Horizon. So it works by summoning a big circular wall of corpses at a target location, and the difference is instead of stunning people when they touch the sides, they're kind of just like trapped inside. They don't actually get stunned, so it's like Jarvan's Cataclysm almost in like a smaller form. But they can attack the wall to actually destroy it, and it kind of works to like trap an enemy inside with YORICK and maybe his minions, so he can just isolate a target, maybe kick them out of a team fight, duel them 1v1, or just delay them so he can escape. And this ability is going to make the new YORICK a lot better at peeling targets, but it does have a relatively short range, so the more mobile champions are going to be able to avoid it super easily without any problems. But if you do catch someone though, it's really awkward to just attack the wall, and it's really hard to kill the wall in the first place. So people often just end up being trapped for the entire duration of the ability, which if you can land that on someone is insanely powerful. His new E is called Morning Mist, so YORICK throws a blob of mist that deals magic damage and marks a target along with a slow. So both YORICK and his Mistwalkers get bonus movement speed when moving towards the marked target hit by his E, so this is pretty much his engage tool. You know, it's a way to catch up to people that haven't quite accepted their fate just yet. And it actually deals damage based on current health as well, so it's potentially quite powerful if you use it on full health opponents, and it does let you combo people if you use it when you got some Mistwalkers out ready to fight for you. And finally, we've got his new ultimate, Eulogy of the Isles. So Eulogy of the Isles spawns the Maiden of the Mists, who will move and attack all by herself. And if YORICK attacks her target, YORICK will deal bonus magic damage based on the enemy's maximum % health. Her targeting and overall just what she does is kind of like whatever she wants. It's a little bit clunky, I guess, similar to the Mistwalkers almost. So if you do see them in a lane, expect them to maybe just wander down it like a lane creep and attack everything they see in their path. So that wraps up YORICK's new kit, but what about his playstyle now? Well, he is a little bit less of a lane bully overall. You know, one of the reasons why Riot reworked him in the first place was because YORICK previously was a pretty anti-fun character. You know, it was just no fun playing against YORICK, especially in lane. And now he actually has to set up the graves in advance if he wants to summon his ghouls and get stuck in a fight, so he does struggle to engage a fight by himself. And as far as the laning phase goes, new YORICK is, you really want to just chill and just farm and sit back for a bit, and you know, you prepare some graves to spawn some ghouls from, and then you use the graves to fast push a lane with the added damage from the Mistwalkers, so he's really great at split pushing now. If he wasn't already before. I mean, he was still really good at split pushing before, but now split pushing is something that he just dominates. He also has quite a big chunk of base damage in his kit though, so it won't be too surprising to see people get a lot of first bloods with YORICK, getting some awesome cheese kills here and there in the top lane, dropping a cage, just unleashing the Mistwalkers onto an enemy for a lot of early game damage. It's definitely going to be enough to kill squishier bruiser champions. His ghouls are pretty weak overall though, they pretty much just get one shot by everything, so against ranged champions he's probably going to struggle a little bit because they can kill his ghouls so easily before they even get to him, and he also doesn't have a gap closer outside of like a small movement speed buff and a slow, so ranged champions can probably just kite him super hard and poke him for free. That's not going to be good for YORICK, so he does struggle against ranged champions quite a lot. And on the plus side though, his Q does heal him a lot, so he can sustain most lanes as long as he plays safe, and the heal on his Q is something that's probably going to be enough to let him jungle actually. He's got some nice clears, and especially if he gets some ghouls from the jungle camps to take down the big buffs faster, and overall it looks like his jungle clear is actually going to be pretty solid, so I'm not too sure about his ganks, but he might actually work out as a little bit more of like a passive sort of farm jungler. And once YORICK enters a fight, he becomes a full-on juggernaut, so he's capable of just taking damage, dishing it out, and doing all sorts of stuff as long as he can get in range of the targets he's focusing. And as enemies die, he gets a chance to spawn even more Mistwalkers, so he's actually pretty snowbally in the sense, if you get an early advantage in a team fight, he just gets stronger and stronger and stronger, and just kind of steamrolls the rest of the team. So the trick to team fighting well with YORICK is to definitely protect his maiden. So protect the guy that you summon with your ultimate and just attack whoever she happens to be attacking, because the damage amplification from attacking the same target is just insane, and it lets YORICK do crazy damage to someone even with a full tank build. So really he seems to be best used in like the mid game where his cheap tank items are really cost effective and he's got really tanky stats in comparison to their opponent's damage, but he still also has a ton of damage that he can use to swing team fights and force objectives with his waves of ghouls, and the ultimate kind of plays like his own personal backliner in a sense almost. However, it's still always going to be best to fight in lane with YORICK though, since the minions in lane give him a really easy way to get graves for his Mistwalkers so that he can summon a bunch of ghouls, and if there's no enemy nearby, they'll just wander down the lane until they find something new to attack, whereas in a fight in the jungle, they can kind of just end up wandering around, going the wrong way, and overall just being a bit useless. So YORICK seems to really be about how to perceive what the AI is going to do, but at least one thing we know for sure is that the new AI is very predictable, so you can definitely find ways to use it to your advantage. Interestingly enough, the creature he spawns with his ultimate, the Maiden, can happily just sit in a completely different location all by herself without YORICK nearby at all. So he can be quite the insane split pusher because he can literally just send her to push a lane by herself while he goes and just helps out his team. And the ultimate can be like some kind of promoted super minion almost, or you could even teleport to a different lane and split push 2 lanes at the same time. And thanks to Mistwalkers staying alive when they're near the Maiden, and the Maiden also spawning her own ghouls, they can just take down towers with no problem at all because there's just too many creeps that spawn automatically for the tower to shoot at. And unfortunately his ultimate doesn't go on cooldown until his Maiden runs out of health, so you're never going to be able to get 2 Maidens at once, but the duration of the Maiden is pretty damn long, and since you can keep both 4 ghouls up, you can split push even 2 lanes at once, and with the Maiden in one lane, you in the other, that's going to be a pretty hilarious split push for your opponents to deal with. You'll maybe be a little bit weaker in fights that way because you won't have your ultimate to use in fights, but you'll definitely be super effective at creating map pressure, so it's a pretty solid trade-off, and the new YORICK is insane when it comes to split pushing. And this sort of split pushing strategy is definitely going to be the bread and butter of YORICK, and it's a great mid-game tactic because it gives YORICK a way to just affect a game outside of trying to snowball fights with a ton of Mistwalkers. So that's essentially our experience and thoughts from playing YORICK so far on the PBE. He's definitely looking to be a lot more interactive with opponents. He's also a little bit more fun to play, I would say, and overall he's looking to be pretty reasonable, I would say. He's got a lot of HP based sustain, so he's pretty nice against tanks. He can take a beating thanks to his sustain overall, so he's a little bit more in line what you might expect from a Juggernaut as well. I don't want to say that he's necessarily too overpowered, since he has some reasonable weaknesses. He's very weak versus ranged champions and just getting kited and stuff, and it's going to be interesting to see what the old YORICK mains actually think about his new rework, since unlike some of the other reworks, he plays a lot differently. He's got kind of a new playstyle. Honestly, he just got changed so much, he's practically just like a brand new champion entirely. So definitely let us know about what your thoughts on the new YORICK rework are, and looks like that's going to be it for me. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like, and if you didn't enjoy the video, the dislike button's right next to it, so feel free to drop one of those too. Subscribe if you want. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.